Today on the Take On Board podcast, I'm speaking with Kim Sullivan about the Company Directors course. This is part of the current mini-series about all forms of board director development, the Company Directors course, the Institute of Community Directors course, Board Mastery Program, Governing for Purpose, Governing for Social Impact, the Governance Institute of Australia program, and an episode about what some of the New Zealand options are as well. So this one is obviously the one about the Company Directors course. So before we start this conversation today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we record. For me, I am on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. I also pay my respects to any First Nations people who may be listening today. I acknowledge their continuing connection to land, waters, skies, culture and country. I support Voice, Treaty and Truth for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in Australia, and I encourage others in the Take On Board community to do the same. Now, let me tell you about Kim. Kim's on the board of the Kensington Neighbourhood House, and she's also the Chief Operating Officer of ORIMA Research, leading the people and culture, IT, admin, and other enabling functions of the business. She's also a social researcher, having worked for over 20 years conducting research for state and federal government clients. Kim is qualified in law, social science, and psychology, and lives with her family in the inner west of Melbourne. Welcome to the Take On Board podcast, Kim.
Thank you for having me, Helia.
It is so awesome to have you. And as I've said to some others for this mini-series, thank you for answering the call. This came from a chat that was in the Facebook group about professional development. And then people said, oh, I've done this, this and this. And then I'm like, hey, why don't you come on the podcast? So thanks for saying yes and being here.
Absolutely.
So, Kim, before we dig into your Company Directors course journey, as always, I want to dig a little bit deeper about you. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a story about young Kim that tells us a little bit about how you got to where you are today?
I can. Now, this is a story that I certainly don't remember. So this is a story that my parents tell me. So I went to school in New South Wales. So first year of schooling in New South Wales is kindergarten. Mm. So my parents had a parent-teacher interview with my kindergarten teacher. One of the questions that they asked was, she seems to be getting a lot of homework for a kinder kid. Is that, And the teacher said, we don't have homework in kindergarten. So here I am at home, self-assigning myself homework, which pretty much that has been me since. The degrees I've done, the little side projects that I do, so God. Right from a very young age, there was just, Okay. So lifelong learner, I suppose you could say, but no, absolutely. Very, very clear very early on that I was a little bit keen.
Oh my gosh, do your parents remember any of the homework that you were setting yourself? Like, what
I'm
sort of
not
things were you
sure.
doing?
Who knows? I mean, it was probably, just letters and reading and who knows what it was. But yeah, they were kind of, I'd come home and hit the books basically at 5 years old. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell, I'd say.
Right, okay. A lifetime of continuous learning, which of course is a beautiful segue to the conversation that we will have today, which is about, broadly this mini-series is about continuous learning for board directors and how important it is, and then all of the different options. Yep. So with you, Kim, the one that is often referred to is the Company Directors course. And I will say part of this mini-series is it's not the only form of professional development. There are others out there, but this is certainly one that is pretty well known. Is this another, self-assignment from Kim, the 5-year-old? Or how did you come to be doing the program, and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, this is definitely me assigning myself more homework. So, I knew that, the last couple of years I was thinking, definitely board directorship, something that I wanted to explore. So initially I actually joined Women on Boards because I thought, look, that's a great, entry point, heaps of resources. And I was digging around they've got like a message board
Yes. Yes.
And so a lot of people were talking about, what courses they've done, what they would recommend. So amazing. So I was kind of digging in and like reading all of these comments about different, courses, and AICD kept coming up.
Yes.
And a lot of people mentioning, that in directorships that they'd gone for, it was a qualification that was sought. So that GAICD post-nominal was something that specifically was kind of called for. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. This is obviously very high caliber. So I looked into it further, went to the website and dug into it. And I'm like, yeah, I think if I'm going to do something, let's just do, I guess often referred to as like a flagship kind of course in terms of, company directorship. Certainly not a simple, short kind of thing. This is a real commitment. But I thought, no, let's do it. So the first decision was really the format, like what format to do it in, because they do give quite a lot of options. So there's an in-person format where you pretty much go in for every day for like 5 days. So you do a different module kind of every day, and you do it with a cohort of people. I thought, oh, that might be good, but can I afford to take a week on? They also have like a residential one. It sounds super fancy. Your offsite dinners, I think cocktail hours, but really kind of intensive. Again, I think that was a 5-day kind of one. They also had like a DIY, or I think they called it like a self-paced online version where you I think you get 6 months to, do it, on your own essentially. But they did have this middle version, which was virtual classroom. So that way you still get to have a cohort of people. There was like 20 of us, I think. And it was done one module per week. So it was every Friday that we would do it. So we'd jump online for the day with the cohort and work through it that way, still with the AICD facilitators. And I thought, look, I think that's probably this great middle ground.
Yes.
I didn't want it to be completely self-paced because I thought I just get a bit lost in the weeds. And, I actually wanted to learn from other people and to hear directly from the facilitators. So I thought that virtual classroom kind of format was the one for me. So so once I decided, signed up, and the ball got rolling.
Right. Okay. That's it. I did the program, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and also did the 1 day a week option, although back then it was in person. So we did 1 day a week for 5 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Then, which is also handy. I don't know if they still do it this way, but you get a certain amount of time after your last day to complete your assignment.
They still do that.
If you do it over 5 weeks rather than 1 week, you've got longer to do your assignment and exam.
Oh, is that right? I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that perk. But no, they do. They've actually got 6 weeks before you even start for your pre-reading.
Yes.
Which I thought, oh, that's unusual. But then, of course, 2 massive folders got delivered to my front doorstep. And I'm like, oh, this is substantial. So 6 weeks, and then you do the one, for me, it was the one Friday for the 5 weeks. And then, I think they say 90 days to like finish off, those assessments. So, actually, really, it was paced really well from that perspective. Given I was working full time and had other bits and pieces on it. Yeah, definitely manageable.
Okay. So you've got, there's a whole range of different formats that it comes in. Tell me broadly the content that the program covered.
So there's, I guess, 5 core modules, which align with their kind of, they've got like a little governance framework, this cute little diagram. So it starts off with governance and the practice of directorship. And there's a little kind of pre-module to that called, I think it's called Director Mindset, which you can, I think, do as a standalone module. So the Director Mindset one actually found crazy useful. That one was the first time I actually thought, okay, what does actually being on a board mean? Because it just was so clear about, okay, you're not an executive. You've really got to switch. So that was great. So you start off with that mindset shift and learn a lot about that governance, practice of directorship. You then do the legal environment.
Yep.
Then risk and strategy, then financial literacy and performance. That one also has another I guess, pre-module in it that can be done standalone on interpreting financial statements. And a lot of feedback that, we were hearing was that that's the module that, unless you're an accountant already, can scare people a little bit. And then it wrapped up with achieving board effectiveness. So really kind of covers the gamut, I suppose.
Great.
What I loved about the content, yes, almost like a fire hose of kind of information, like the legislation, the financial stuff, but actually the way that the content is packaged up, it's got a lot of they rely very heavily on case studies. So at every stage you're looking at the content. It's like, okay, so how is this applied? How is this applied in a board setting, either in not-for-profit, ASX, family business? So it's constantly kind of reinforcing the learning through the case studies, and that's kind of mostly what we spent time on in the sessions. Not really looking at the course notes at all. It was really around, let's dive into the case studies and even do some practice, like little scenarios and things. And the other part of the content as well is there's a whole host of directors' tools as well that they kind of provide at the end of each one. And I'm actually using those right now, like with the, as treasurer of Neighbourhood House, I was looking at the agenda, some financial ratios, and I'm like, I've got something to help me with that. So I pulled it out and I was looking through what ratios are, useful and things like that. So it's not a textbook. It's some core content and then a lot of applied. Let's see how this has worked in real life, and let's see how you can then, apply.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to come back to how you've used it in real life. But just before we do that, we touched on it earlier, the assessment. So we know the different formats. We know some of the content. Tell us how the assessment for this works.
Okay, so the assessment, there's 3 parts. The first one is a 3,000-word assignment, but it's a case study essentially. So they give you the background of a case study. You can choose a not-for-profit example or a for-profit example. And knowing that I was going to join a not-for-profit, I chose the not-for-profit example, but they give you quite a detailed case study. There's financial reports in there. There's extracts of, board agendas and minutes and things, and a lot of context. And then there's some questions that you answer around the case study, 3,000 words. You actually can start that assessment quite early. That's actually released kind of quite early in the piece. And they recommend you start on that early. Then there's a quiz. Multi-choice, I think there's 20 questions quiz. They do give you 2 practice quizzes as well. I don't know what I was doing, but every time I did a practice quiz, I got a worse and worse result. Anyway, I managed to pass the final one because they're quite subtle questions. There's not one clear answer. There's usually 2 answers, and you're like, okay, it's one of these, and you've really got to unpack. And then there's an exam. So the quiz was kind of a lot shorter, covered quite a lot of ground, whereas the exam had, I guess, longer form scenarios, and then you'd be applying to write longer form kind of, responses to that.
Okay. And I think back in my day, I think they were combined together, the quiz and the exam. And back in my day, it was a invigilated exam, but I think it's open book now. Is that right? And how long does the exam take?
It is. Yeah. I think you've got like an hour and I looked up this before we chatted. I think it was 26 minutes per question. So so it was 4 questions and the time ticks, like it really does. There's a lot to get through and a lot to synthesize. So open book. But I didn't have time to look at for the exam. I just had to start writing. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, when you say start writing, is it handwritten or typed?
No, it's typed, but I just had to.
No, that's okay.
A lot of. Yeah. No.
I don't know if I know how to handwrite an exam anymore. Typing it is actually much quicker for me, so it's good to know. Okay.
No, absolutely typed, but because the question's actually quite long, you've actually got to read and actually try and understand what they're actually asking, and then even before you get in, and they give you guidance. They're actually one of the great things. They've got like an assignment guide or assessment guide where they kind of talk you through, and there's even little videos on here's how to approach the exam question, here's what we're looking for. And it's quite specific. So I kind of worked through all of that before I launched into the exam, and it felt like it was finished in like 5 minutes. The time flew.
Okay. All right. How did you go?
Well, I passed. I didn't have to do a resit. So there is an option because I think Think the pass grade is 60% in all 3 assessments. And so as long as you get over that, you've passed. If it's below that, you get an opportunity to do a resit.
Yes. Great.
So I didn't need to do the resit. But it was actually really hard going. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like, you've got to study, you've got to be ready. Like, I did have notes and like things with like little post-its and things so I could quickly refer. Didn't have time to,
Yeah.
but you've really got to be prepared. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So tell me, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, but tell me what impact has it had on your practice as a director, having done the program?
Well, Kensington Neighbourhood House is my first board role. So going in completely green, kind of not knowing, anything. I think it's made a massive difference because I would absolutely have gone into this board role, with my executive hat. And my job is operational anyway, so I would have been right in there in terms of the operational level. So
Yes.
it was really just so valuable to know that's someone else's job now. You've got a different role. So right from the very first board meeting, I knew, no, I've got to separate those.
Yeah.
But also, I put my hand up to be treasurer because the previous treasurer, stood down. So I'm like, yep, I can do that. All of that stuff's fresh in my mind. Or, I thought I was. So I've just now got this wealth of resources, to be referring to in terms of, different ratios, financial ratios to look at, how to interpret, different, financial statements. But it's given me more confidence to speak to my fellow board members about what we're seeing, because all board members have to be able to interpret and read and understand and weigh in. You kind of can't pass the buck. But it means they can question me and I can kind of give them some of that, deeper information. And I would not have been able to do that before this course. So it's really given me that kind of confidence. Not to say I'm an expert by any means. I'm not an accountant. It is not my kind of natural kind of place to be in financial statements, but very happy to, with that kind of support and that kind of info, feeling, quite confident to get stuck into it.
Amazing. And look, I think it's sometimes useful for others in the boardroom to have a treasurer who's not the accountant, because it really does reinforce it's all of our responsibility. We all have to be part of this.
Correct.
And hopefully people don't feel nervous asking the inverted commas stupid question anyway. But maybe the fact that you're not an accountant gives a bit more license for people to ask the stupid question.
I think it does, actually.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Oh, my God, amazing. All right. So, Kim, what should I have asked you about the program that I haven't asked yet?
Should you? That's a good question.
And they might not, maybe I've asked it all, which is fine, but I just thought I'd check if there's anything I've missed, any key parts I've missed.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess we didn't really talk about the facilitators, like the AICD staff, or what would you call them, moderators, or the people aspect of it. Yeah.
Sure. Tell us a bit about the people aspect of the program then.
So I had a different facilitator for each of the days, each of the modules, and they were all so impressive, right? Their board CVs, like really impressive individuals and hugely varied as well. So obviously an expert in the area of, that was related to the module. So, law or finance or whatever it was, hugely varied and just so lovely. And it basically meant that we got 5 different perspectives actually on all of the course content, because even in financial, you might kind of talk about legal, in strategy, you might talk about, board effectiveness. So each time we had this incredibly, well-qualified person kind of really giving us a handle on the practical application of, a lot of the content. So I was just, I loved it. I loved also being with the cohort of like 19 other people
Yeah.
some of whom were in similar situations to me, haven't been on a board, others who had, but just kind of getting to know them, sharing, hearing different perspectives.
Yes.
And really, yes, the course notes and everything are fabulous. It's such a kind of a great like Bible, I suppose, but it was really that people aspect that I got the most out of. Yeah.
Like I said, I think I did it, I don't even know, 8 years ago, something like that. There is a little subset of that group and we still catch up for dinner. I don't know, at least once or twice a year. We were just in our WhatsApp group the other day trying to work out a time, which was lovely. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, they always say, it's the network part of,
absolutely.
Directorship, it's who you know. It's the networks that you've got to draw on for advice and things. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Total side note, and not for you, this is more just in case someone from the AICD is listening. I got asked a while ago to put in an expression of interest to be on their faculty. And to be honest, I wasn't entirely sure if that's where I wanted to go, but I was fascinated. I'm a sole trader, right? Sole traders are not eligible to be their facilitators. You must be a trust or a company, which I'm like, why? And I never got a clear answer from them as to why a sole trader couldn't do it. Something, literally the responses were, something, 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 risk, something, something, something. And I'm like, well, I've got insurance. Like, what's the problem? Anyway, AICD, if you're listening,
I'm not quite sure that makes sense.
Yes. You are cutting out a range. I mean, it's awesome that they have a range of fabulous people, but there is a range of sole traders like me who might also be awesome to help deliver, but for some reason, we're not eligible. Anyway, like I say, I've got enough to do. I'm not sure it bothers me, but it was just fascinating that was the case. Anyway, no comment required on that one from you. So, Kim, no, you've talked about the cohort and them staying together. That's what I was going to ask. Kim, this has been such a great glimpse into, behind the scenes at the Company Directors course, in the format, in the content, what you got out of it, the assessment, all sorts of things today. What are the key things you want people to take away from the conversation that we've had today?
So key things would be, this is not a little quick weekender kind of course. This is a real commitment. I would say be ready to do the pre-reading. Take advantage of the fact that they've, got within the content review questions to help you, did I understand what I just read?
Yes.
Read the case studies ahead of time. Like really put in that effort, because then when you're at the, in the format that I did with the cohort, then it's about how do I apply what I've been reading, as opposed to trying to still catch up on what you were reading.
Yeah.
I guess another thing in a similar vein, start the case study, early. I was told that I didn't start it for, ages. And by the time I got to it, I'm like, okay, yep, I've really got to get my skates on, with this. And take advantage of, they've got practice quizzes, practice exams. They've also got, I think they call it a learning support contact or coordinator. Like there's someone that you will kind of be assigned who you can ring, talk to at any time to get advice on the assessments, the course, So you've got this support person as well. And I certainly rang them and said, okay, how should I tackle, different bits and pieces? So, but really such a valuable course. And I loved it.
Fantastic. Yeah, it is. I don't know if they still do this, but I will just say a side note on the assessment. I maybe got a bit of an extension of time because I can't remember why, but I don't know, life got in the way, and they are quite flexible around that as well. So folks, if you're thinking or have done the program and you're just like, oh my God, I can't do this in the required time in the 6 weeks after or whatever it is, we're all grown-ups. They know we're grown-ups. They know we've got a life. They will work with you to make it work. Yeah. Okay. So we will put a link to the course in the show notes. Is there any other resources you would like to share with the Take On Board community? In terms of resources for this episode, we will make sure we put a link in the show notes to the Company Directors course so people can see that. Oh, Kim, thank you. Thank you so much, as I said at the start, so answering the call, being open to a random message saying, hey, why don't you come on the podcast and talk about your experience? It's so great to hear different people's experiences about all of these different options. And I'm so glad to hear that it is helping your practice as a director as well. So thank you for coming and sharing on the Take On Board podcast today.
Thank you, Helia. It's been a delight.